Chapter 18. This is amazing, Tucker. I can't believe you pulled all this together in just a day, Shelby said as he approached her. She held out a glass of punch to him and then filled a second cup for herself. You did all the hard work, Shelby. I just got the toys here. He took a sip of the punch, but his eyes never left her face. Shelby's heart quickened in her chest. The way he was looking at her felt like a caress. She could almost feel his hand against her cheek, and the thought of it sent her blood pulsing through her body. You did a lot more than that, Tucker Jackson. Don't think I don't know it. Well, I have 2 more things for you. Will you follow me? Follow him? With the way he was looking at her right now? She'd probably follow him off a cliff right now if he asked. Sure. The word barely made it past her throat and came out more like a whisper than an answer, but he seemed to understand it anyway. He took her cup and placed it on the table along with his own. Then he reached for her hand. Warm tingles shot up her arm as their skin touched, and Shelby fought to compose her breathing. He led her toward the door. Wait, my coat. Don't worry about it. You can use my jacket. We won't be long. He paused long enough to shrug out of his suit jacket and place it on her shoulders. She knew the chill was biting outside, but even when they stepped out of the warmth of the center, she didn't feel it. It was as if their connection was heating them both. I got a few more things for the center, he said as he steered them toward the back of his truck. Her eyes widened as she saw the new sports equipment in the bed of the truck. Tucker, you didn't have to do this. Yes, I did. Have you tried playing basketball with those balls? She chuckled at the seriousness in his voice and shook her head. I know how awful they are. I don't play, but I've watched the kids try to use them. Still, this is too much. You've done so much already. If I plan to keep volunteering, I'd like to have better equipment. Her lips parted and she stared up at him. Do you mean it? You want to keep volunteering? She had hoped he would want to stay, but she hadn't wanted to ask him for fear of his answer. He took her other hand and pulled her close to his chest. If you'll let me. Suddenly, it was hard to breathe. It was as if a hand was squeezing her lungs closed. Of course I'll let you. The corners of his lips twitched, showing off the dimple in his cheek. Good. There's just one more thing then. What's that? Shelby could hardly get the words out. She felt locked in his gaze. The smell of him intoxicated her. This manly scent that reminded her of campfires and woods. It made her want to close her eyes and breathe in deeply. We need to get you to relax a little. He let go of one of her hands, and she watched in slow motion as his hand touched her hair. With deft fingers, he pulled the first pin out, and she felt a chunk of hair fall and bounce by her face. Then another pin, and finally the clip holding it all in place. She wanted to say something, to do something, though she had no idea what, but she couldn't. Her feet were frozen in place. Her eyes were locked with his. It was taking all her effort just to remember to breathe. And then his hand was in her hair, and the feel of it sent the tiny hairs on the back of her neck up. Goosebumps broke out on her arms, and she closed her eyes, relishing the sensation. That's much better. His hand moved from her hair to the back of her neck, and Shelby's eyes snapped open. Was he going to kiss her? She could see the desire in his eyes and hear it in the thudding of his heart. Or was that hers? It appeared she could no longer tell the difference. I have one more question for you, Shelby Doll. His voice was husky and constricted with emotion. Yes? The word was airy, far off, as if she had answered from another plane. Would it be breaking any rules if I kissed the director of the center? The twinkling in his eye told her he didn't really care if it did. He was going to kiss her unless she protested, and she had no plans to do that. She managed a small shake of her head, and then warmth flooded her body as his lips touched hers. Having always been the shy, quiet one, Shelby hadn't kissed that many men, but she didn't think she would ever forget this kiss with Tucker. Electricity buzzed through her, racing down her legs and curling her toes in her shoes. Oh, I do have one more gift for you, Tucker said when they pulled back. Shelby couldn't imagine what else he might have for her. He'd already given her more than she had ever expected. What is it? I probably won't get to play because of this suspension. but will you be my guest at the game on Christmas?" He pulled out 2 tickets from his pocket. "There's one for Kinsey, too." "Of course. I'd be happy to. But there has to be something we can do so you can play." She couldn't stand the thought of him not getting to do the thing he loved most. He had changed so much. The man who stood before her today was no longer the angry man who had entered her center a week ago. He brushed her hair behind her ear and shook his head. "No, it's fine. It's just a game. Working with you and with these kids the last week has shown me that." Shelby could tell it was still more than a game to him, but he was trying to accept it. She had to try and help him. Tucker could tell from the glint in her eye that Shelby wasn't going to just let it go, but at least she didn't push him for more information. "Okay, if you're sure." "I am." She shivered in his arms, and the reality of the cold air around them landed on his shoulders. "We should get back inside. You're freezing." "I'm fine," she said through chattering teeth. "How's your dad?" "He's good. They put the stent in yesterday afternoon. He has to stay another day for observation, but then he should be able to return home. I took your advice, too, on the way back here. I opened my heart to God. He's helping me forgive my father and myself." Tears clouded Shelby's eyes, and she blinked them back. "That's wonderful, Tucker. Oh, and I almost forgot. The kids have something for you, too." "For me?" He couldn't imagine what the kids might have for him, but he followed Shelby back into the center. "There you two are," Kinsey said, hurrying up to them. "The kids have been asking for you. They want to give Tucker his gift." "Let's not make them wait any longer," Shelby said with a smile. She led Tucker to the middle of the room and held up her hands to get the attention of the crowd. "Thank you all for coming out. I especially want to thank Tucker Jackson and the rest of the Texas Tornadoes for helping out. I know the kids have enjoyed having you here the last week, Tucker. And as a way of saying thank you, they have a gift for you." Tucker watched as Benji rolled his direction with a colorfully wrapped package on his lap. "I hope you like it, Mr. Tucker." "I'm sure I'll love it," Tucker said as he took the box. He shot the crowd a teasing grin. "Should I open it now?" "Open it!" the kids hollered back at him. Okay. He tore the paper and lifted the lid to see a football inside. "Aw, you guys, this is great." "It's not just a football, Mr. Tucker," Benji said with a shake of his head. "Take it out." Tucker did as instructed, and his throat swelled with emotion as he pulled out the football covered in kids' scribbles. They had all signed the football, and some had even left him a note or encouraging word. "This is perfect, guys. Thank you." And it was. Tucker knew that even if they made it to the championship game, that this would be the highlight of his season.